was involved in this matter.
No, now you've used the language which I was.
Yes.
My issue was
Yes.
smuggling.
Yes.
You know, yeah. Just maintain that language.
Yes, so Right Honorable,
Okay.
there was a lot of lobbying in this matter, and we stood firm as the Committee on Finance. The manufacturers, I do not want to put their names on the record, but they are the big manufacturers making plastics in this country. And when they failed here, I think they passed behind and went and had an interaction with the Ministry of Finance to see how they can go around it. That is why I'm assuming that they smuggled it. Additionally, significantly eroding the tax base and foregoing substantial revenue that Parliament intended for national development priorities, while weakening the environmental signal against single-use plastics. Right Honourable Speaker and members, the earlier documents submitted to the committee indicate that government expected to collect 208 billion from the past law. However, with the exemption created in the proposed amendment and by maintaining the rate at 2.5%, government will only collect 3 billion shillings. This means the government will be losing or foregoing 205 billion, which revenue forms part of the budget that is currently being implemented by government. Nevertheless, I agree with the President's proposed rate of 2.5% or $70 per ton. Additionally, the minority report sets out my divergent position on the tax exemption created under 3 and 4 by the President's proposal and the significant revenue loss that would result from this adoption. Part 2 summarizes the two positions. If you're keen members, I need you to compare the law as is, the bill that Parliament did pass, and the letter that the President returned. They are totally different. The President, in his justification, is only talking about the rate, but he's not talking about the new exemptions that are being created in the law. So Parliament's past version shows 25% or 1,500, whichever is higher. Then the broad scope covering single-use plastics, we expanded the scope. And then the limited targeted exemptions, we limited the exemptions. Then the President's proposed amendment, according to the letter that was returned, it reverts back to the old rate. It maintains a broader description of single-use plastics and introduces additional and expanded exemptions. The President's version effectively nullifies the core revenue enhancing and environmental objective of the bill. Part 3 talks about the exemption that is being created, and the Minister is silent about it. In his justification, he did not state anything to do with the new exemptions that are being brought in the law. Actually, before I Right Honourable Speaker and members, what you need to know is all plastics, according to this proposal, all plastics, almost all plastics, even this pen I'm holding, they won't be paying the President. Plastic products for packaging pharmaceutical products and plastic products used in the packaging pharmaceutical products. Then there is tension and slight rephrasing of existing exemptions for vacuum packaging, bags for food, juice, tea, coffee, and sanitary pads. These exemptions go beyond the narrow, justified public health and essential use carve-outs already contained in the version of the bill sent to the President. They create loopholes that could be exploited through reclassification of products as multiple use of pharmaceutical packaging, hence eroding the tax base. By lowering the rate from 25% or $1,500 to 2.5% or 70 per ton, while simultaneously widening exemptions, the President's proposal substantially reduces both the rate and base at the same time. Revenue loss analysis. Right Honourable Speaker and members, adoption of the President's proposed new exemption 3 and 4 would result in a massive loss of domestic revenue. Under the old law, the new exempt plastics are paying taxes and contributing greatly to revenue. I respectively submit that the President might not be aware of this, as it is not mentioned anywhere in his letter. It is my considered view that the exemption 3 and 4 were smuggled into this amendment, and this was never part of the original bill. Additionally, in financial 2023-2024, the committee rejected the same exemptions.
No, just Honorable, I just want, because you see, when we are on this floor, on the House of Record, and we are using words like smuggled. Okay? It means something was agreed upon, then someone went behind the scenes and made it and all that. So I just want to get that properly.
Yes, Right Honorable.
Since it's a single person report, you can explain.
Right Honorable, that's why I was explaining that we have a law in existence, and I have the compendium of the laws there. The definition of plastics is well laid out, and we did make sure it is clear and captures all plastics in the country, and they are paying taxes. So when the bill came, the Ministry of Finance brought a bill before Parliament. The bill was brought keeping our definition that we had passed, but had proposed new rates. It had significantly increased the rates to very high rates that we have no, and I declined. I made a minority and said we need to keep the rates. So the bill was passed with a definition, maintaining the definition covering all plastics. The bill went to the President for assent. The President now returns the bill, but in the letter that returns the bill, the President is talking about the rates and how the manufacturers complained about the high rates, the abnormal rates that Parliament had passed, which were not part of what Parliament proposed, because it's finance that proposed. Now in this letter, when you look down, when you look at the definition, it's completely, and it's not mentioned anywhere in the justification. And the justification the minister has put on record, it is nowhere, it's not anywhere in his justification. And Right Honorable, on the record, I think this matter came up, and those of us who were on the Committee of Finance, we know the lobbying that was involved in this matter.
No, now you've used the language which I was,
Yes.
my issue was
Yes.
smuggling.
Yes.
You know, yeah, just maintain that language.
Yes, so Right Honorable,
Okay.
there was a lot of lobbying in this matter, and we stood firm as the Committee on Finance. The manufacturers, I do not want to put their names on the record, but they are the big manufacturers making plastics in this country. And when they failed here, I think they passed behind and went and had an interaction with the Ministry of Finance to see how they can go around it. That is, go around it. That is why I'm assuming that they smuggled it. Additionally, I'm back to my report. Additionally, in the financial year 2023-2024, the committee rejected these same exemptions in the bill that was brought that year. The bill that was passed by Parliament also significantly broadens the base by explicitly bringing in many previously lightly and untaxed single-use plastic items. The combined effect of untaxed single-use plastic items. The combined effect of this would be to multiply higher revenue from the plastic sector compared to the current regime. Then I give an estimate revenue impact, and I think I'll skip that because it shows you the immediate and how much we expect to lose and how we are going to lose the money required to fund critical infrastructure, because it was part of what we passed as Parliament. Then I'm going to part 5, why Parliament's original position should prevail. The original position on the definition of plastics. We acknowledge the President's concern about potential cost pressures on manufacturers' employment and readiness for alternatives. However, these concerns can and should be addressed through complementary measures rather than by abandoning the tax reforms. The environmental impact. Single-use plastics are a major driver of pollution, blocking drainage, environmental degradation. The high rates, this is about the environmental impact. Then go to revenue mobilization, and then I want to put emphasis on the fairness and equity. Right, Honorable Speaker, I think the clerk is taking your attention, but this is one of the areas which will show you why I believe that this matter was smuggled. Fairness and equity. Right, Honorable Speaker and members, one of the principles of a good tax system is equity and fairness. Indeed, in his letter, while giving his view about the income tax, the President states, this is the income tax that we previously dealt with. So while in his letter, the President states, in addition, the amendment creates an unjustified distinction between land-based casinos and operators conducting substantially similar gaming activities through online platforms. Both derive income from the same economic activity, and there is no justification for exempting one category while taxing the other. This is the same letter we are talking about. So why would the president then go ahead and create new exemptions and then exempt people from paying taxes? Yes, the president in the same letter is talking about fairness and equity. Right Honorable Speaker and members, many Ugandans are struggling with high taxes, and in these bills already introduce increments on essential commodities like fuel, sugar, and cement. Yet the same law will now be exempting the large manufacturers and investors from paying taxes. Exempting the large manufacturers and investors from paying taxes. This is not only unfair to majority of Ugandans, but it's a huge source. Honorable Musasizi is sending me notes, but let me first finish my report on this matter before we can go into this. Right Honorable Speaker and members, many Ugandans are struggling with high taxes, and in these bills already introduce increments on essential commodities like fuel, sugar, and cement. Yet the same law will now be exempting large manufacturers and investors from paying taxes. This is not only unfair to majority of the Ugandans, but it's a huge source of revenue leakages. Revenue leakages is one of the biggest problems we have in our country as we lose trillions of shillings each year. This excise duty we are dealing with, there are clauses already that have increased taxes on fuel products, on cement, on sugar, on cooking oil. These clauses, we are not touching them because the president returned telling us to look at only the clause concerning plastics. And then the clause of plastics is now giving exemptions. Yet we have already increased taxes on Ugandans, which I believe is not fair, and there is no equity being implemented here. That is the main issue I wanted us to give more focus to. There is international alignment, mitigation of industry concerns, conclusion and recommendations. The President's proposed amendment to Clause 2E creates a new and expanded tax exemption that erodes the tax base and would cause substantial revenue loss to the consolidated fund. They reverse the progressive reforms passed by this House and undermine the efforts to address plastic pollution and strengthen domestic resource mobilization. I therefore recommend that, 1, this House amends the bill by lowering the rate from 25% or $1,500 per ton to 2.5 or $70 per ton, whichever is higher, as proposed by the President. Retain the definition of plastics and what is being exempted from paying taxes under Clause 2E, as is in the bill that was passed by Parliament and as is in the current law. Ministry of Finance, Planning and Economic Development, in consultation with the Uganda Revenue Authority and National Environmental Management Authority, develops and presents to this House within 90 days a comprehensive implementation and mitigation plan, including support to industry transition and smuggling measures and recycling incentives. 3, clear administrative guidelines be issued to prevent abuse of any justified exemptions. And under the justified exemptions, I think there was an error which was corrected: packaging for food, juice, tea, snacks, and bags for direct use in the manufacture of sanitary pads. I remain committed to a balanced approach that protects the environment, raises necessary revenue, and supports a just transition for Ugandan manufacturers and workers. However, the President's current proposal does not achieve this balance. I urge the honorable members to support this position and amend the definition of plastics and reduce the exemptions while keeping the rates low as proposed by the President. Right Honorable Speaker and members, I beg to submit.
So in short, you partially agree with the President,
On the rates.
On the rates.
On the definition,
Okay.
I have a proposal
On
for the definition.
you're saying we limit the exemption.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes, right.
And to simplify it. Okay?
Ye-
Which ones are you saying, just to simplify it on the record? Which ones are you saying we maintain, and which ones are you saying we don't allow?
Right, Honorable. They are very clear. I stated them out, part 3 and part item 3 and 4. That is, because we are substituting the entire clause that covers excise duty on plastics, which is section 11 of the principal law. So section 11, my view is we delete part 3 in the proposed amendment under the exemptions, because part 3 says multiple use plastics and plastic granules used in the manufacture of multiple use plastics. This is being put under those that are being exempted from paying the tax. And then part 4, the plastic granules used in the manufacture of plastic products used in the packaging and or pharmaceutical and plastics used, because these are new clauses which are not there in the principal law, and they are not there in the bill that was brought to Parliament that we did pass and sent to the President for assent.
Yeah, thank you. But maybe for the record, Honorable Masaba, the President under Article 91 and Rule 149, when we are processing this, the President has powers to even propose the new, even propose to widen the amendment. He's not as limited as us. So, and I don't want the President to do his work, then we start suspecting others. That language of suspicion is not good. When an officer is doing their work, now an officer can say, but I've never even met the President over this matter. How do you come and you start suspecting me? And it goes on record. Procedure, Honorable Makmot?
Yes, Right Honourable Speaker. I think on that very matter, I think it has been put on record that allegedly maybe the minister actually smuggled some provision that the committee had actually rejected through some lobbying. Yet, I think as you've stated, this could have come even from the President, could have come in other ways. But more importantly, this is, whatever is presented here is coming from a committee report, which was signed by members, as opposed to the minority. So would it not be procedurally right to actually expunge that from the record, if it is not substantiated, because it is the smuggling after committee has rejected is a very serious allegation. Thank you.
Now, honorable colleagues, parliaments all over the world, they are lobbied. Lobbying is not a crime. In fact, if you go to Congress, to Senate in the US, there are lobby offices, including universities. Honorable Javier and I were in Makerere. We found Michigan State University had a lobby officer at Congress to lobby. The problem is how you lobby, okay? So being lobbied, to me, is not a problem. But if you look at it negatively, so, but Honorable, I will guide the clerk and the Hansard team, okay? I've given them authority under Rule 38. Words which were bordering on imputing negativity on colleagues and the House, they should be expunged. Only those words. Otherwise, the substantive issues are very, very, very clear. I don't want us to affect the merit issues. Yes, Honorable Masaba?
Right, Honorable. I do want to withdraw the word smuggling for this case, because I wanted to bring out clearly the matter, because that's why I had quoted the President saying that there is no justification for exempting one category while taxing the other in the same letter. That is why I believe that maybe the President was not aware of what happened in the definition, because the definition, actually many colleagues didn't know that they were creating new exemptions. When we were in the committee, the matter that was being discussed was the rate. Why was the rate increased from whatever it was to what it was, and nothing was stated
Okay,
about the
Honorable.
exemptions.
Thank you. The clerk has taken note of that answer, team. They will clean up that part to have a very clear record. Honorable Minister for Finance, several issues raised from the two minority reports. No, honorable colleagues, I don't allow a debate before a minister clarifies, because you see, when he clarifies, he guides. Now, because a lot of issues have been raised, so it's very important for him to respond to the issues raised in the minority report, so that we can have a balanced debate. Yeah. Try to talk and see if it's on. Yeah, I've allowed you, Honourable Minister, to use that side. Yeah. Yeah, don't mind. You remember last time General Gonyi was balancing. They shared UPDF, now they can share ministers. How does it feel speaking from that side?
Mr. Speaker, this is my first time. In my last 15 years, I have not been unprivileged to be on this side. Mr. Speaker, I want to thank my colleagues, mainly Honorable Karim, who has raised a number of issues on the excise duty. First, I am happy that he has withdrawn his earlier statement. On a personal note, Honorable Karim Masaba is a good MP and who takes time to analyze our numbers. But from the onset, and he knows that me and him have always agreed that he needs mentorship in order to be the best he can be in future in this house. And I'm glad that he was quickly remorseful for his statement. Mr. Speaker, the revenue loss as a result of extended exemptions, which is only 7 billion, not as Karim stated. And also, the proposal, which Honorable Karim agrees with, of 2.5 or 70, will give us 60.06 billion in revenue. What am I trying to say is that we should not be so much worried that the proposal by the President, if supported, will result into significant revenue loss. Mr. Speaker, excise duty is a tax that affects, that is to the consumer of the product. And the concern of the President is that some of these items which were going to be affected by the tax are the inputs into production of other items. For example, the water tanks use these materials, the water pipes use these materials and other insulators. So, Mr. Speaker, in the nutshell, I am of the considered opinion that the President's proposal is in the right direction. Mr. Speaker, since we are a new House, let me state this, that the process of arriving at these decisions evolves. We can have a position today as government, as the ministry. But when new information comes, and another position can be formed. Mr. Speaker, at the time of passing the bill in April, there is information which was not available. And between passing the bill here and the time of assent, this information came and was brought to the attention of the President. When such information comes, you are not going to blame anybody that you didn't do the right job. The only issue is whether information comes and then you don't factor it. So, Mr. Speaker, both us who considered the bill first and the President who received the new information, we are both correct. And I want to beg that the House considers the new information that the President, that was brought to the attention of the President, so that we have a good law in place. Mr. Speaker, Honorable Javira from Makerere and Masaka, who is an accountant, has taken us through the evolution of the regime that affects plastics. Mr. Speaker, briefly, what I can say is that over the years, we have thought that we can control the destruction of the environment by using taxation as one of the options, which, in our considered opinion, has not worked. When you read the President's letter, he says we need to do a comprehensive study. And Mr. Speaker, as I conclude, I want to pray that the House considers the opinion of the President as has been stated in the majority report of the committee. And at the same time, I want to undertake that by the time we come to April, I provide a comprehensive study to this House on this matter of plastics, because the President says the study needs to be done. And I want to agree with Karim, Honorable, who is saying the Ministry of Finance, in consultation with my own officers, URA, Honorable Karim, URA is part of the ministry. So we want to undertake that. We shall go back and do a comprehensive study so that we are able to address the concerns which have come from the minority reports, both from Honorable Javira and Honorable Karim. And also I want to believe other members of the House, because Dr. Kefa is there, and the other colleagues, even from the time I was still a backbencher and chairperson of the committee, this matter, Mr. Bachenga, you remember, this matter used to come almost every year, and Honorable Kakoza. So let's undertake that we shall do a comprehensive study and come up with recommendations which both government and parliament can base on to form decisions which will be agreeable to both of us. I thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you. Yeah, but I'm seeing members of the committee standing. No, they are not allowed. Members of the committee? Yeah. Yeah. So members of the committee are not allowed to be. Honorable Chirumira, you're a member of the committee.